Today we have 4 stories that are going to make your blood boil. First up, a woman asks her boyfriend for one tiny bit of respect at the dinner table, and he completely loses it over a pair of chopsticks. Then, a pregnant mom on bed rest decides her husband is not allowed in the delivery room. And once you hear what he's been saying to her, you'll understand why. After that, a woman gets ambushed by a friend's family for abandoning her, even though she has the receipts to prove she did nothing wrong. And finally, a guy orders pizza at a wedding because the bride's family devoured the entire buffet before half the guests got fed. Trust me, the ending on that last one is absolutely wild. Let's get into it. A Japanese woman asks her boyfriend to stop disrespecting a funeral tradition at the dinner table, and he digs in his heels over chopsticks. I tried to post this in a relationship advice community, but got an error message that it should be here. I'm Japanese, 40 female, and in my culture, sticking chopsticks upright into a bowl of rice is considered disrespectful because it's traditionally done at funerals or as an offering to the deceased. Today at home, my boyfriend, 36 male, who is non-Japanese, stuck his chopsticks vertically into his rice. I politely told him that it's considered disrespectful in my culture and asked if he could lay them across the bowl instead. He immediately said it was silly and refused, saying they'd fall off. I told him they wouldn't, but then he said he wasn't eating Japanese food, so it didn't matter. I explained that it isn't about the food, it's about how the chopsticks are placed. He responded that we're not in Japan and that he wasn't changing what he was doing because he thought it was silly. I calmly said I was only asking for a small favor out of respect for my culture. He then sharply replied, "Fine, I'll just use forks from now on." So I took the chopsticks away and handed him a fork. What upset me was how he immediately dismissed my request as silly instead of making such a small accommodation. I got quite angry and said, "You're just like all the other white people who love anime and collect figures but don't actually care about Japanese culture." He was shocked by that and later told me I was petty, cynical, and intentionally trying to hurt his feelings. I gave an example of how, whenever I have dinner with him and his family, they say grace before eating. I'm not religious and I didn't grow up doing that, but I do it anyway because I know it's meaningful to them. He responded that religion and culture aren't the same thing. He also told me that during couples counseling, our counselor said we shouldn't have expectations of each other. I told him that's not why I was upset. I'm not angry because he didn't meet an expectation I had. I'm upset at how he immediately dismissed my request as silly and refused to make such a small gesture out of respect for my culture. So Redditors, am I the asshole for asking him to not put chopsticks upright on rice since we're not living in Japan? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Your couple's counselor saying you shouldn't have expectations of each other seems to be translated by your boyfriend to mean that he can do whatever he likes, and if you're upset by it, that's a you problem." Another commenter said, "Yeah, or a really bad counselor." Yeah, the comments are firmly in her corner on this one. It was such a small ask, and he turned it into a whole battle. But what do you think? So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. A pregnant mom on bed rest after 4 miscarriages says her husband has crossed the line, and now he's banned from the delivery room. I, 27 female, am 31 weeks pregnant with our second child and currently on modified bed rest because of concerns about preterm labor. We also have a toddler, 3 female. Since I'm limited physically right now, I told my husband, 29 male, I need him to take more ownership of the house and follow through on things he says he will do. I told him I cannot keep carrying the mental load, making detailed lists, and then not being able to trust that things will get done. This turned into a 2-hour screaming fight. He told me I have not cooked or cleaned in a year, even though the months before this pregnancy included 4 miscarriages, and I am now on bed rest. He said I am too critical of him. He also has mentioned that my job has taken me away from being an involved mother. I work 8 to 5 like everyone else. He was fired from his job 2 weeks ago due to executive function issues on his end, and I'm the sole income earner. This is also not isolated. In another major fight this week, he called me a harpy and told me I make his days miserable. Tried saying it wasn't that bad because me calling into question his competence is worse. Last night before bed, he told me to shut the freak up and get out. Both fights left me sobbing uncontrollably for hours. After the latest fight, I told him he will not be in the delivery room when our son is born. I'm not trying to keep him from meeting his son or from being involved as a father. But labor is a vulnerable medical event, and I do not feel emotionally safe enough to endure it with someone who has recently been screaming at me, insulting me, and making me feel unstable while I am at risk for preterm labor. I feel like the person supporting me during labor should make me feel calm, protected, and safe. Right now, he does not. Am I the asshole for deciding he cannot be in the delivery room? Edit. I should mention it's only the household burden he behaves incompetently with. He's a super involved and loving father to our daughter, like stay-at-home dad energy, and our fights never happen when she's awake, thankfully. At least a small silver lining to this shit show of a marriage as of late. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Why do you keep having kids with this guy?" Another commenter said, "He's only been awful like this recently. He's a totally different person, and I do have thoughts of leaving." The comments are completely on her side here, and a lot of them are genuinely worried for her safety. Standing up for yourself during something that vulnerable is not being the asshole. But tell me if you see it differently. If you're enjoying these stories so far, do me a huge favor and smash that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. A woman gets ambushed by her flaky friend's family for abandoning her, so she pulls out the receipts. My friend had her baby a few weeks ago. A couple of days ago, I got contacted by one of her family members. They asked me why I hadn't come to see her and the new baby, and that if I was so excited and supportive of her, why haven't I made an attempt to visit? Keep in mind, I've done a lot of things this summer, so I'm assuming the insecurity came from all of my posts. I happily informed said family member of the constant updates I have asked for, and included screenshots of the times I've asked to come see her. No response. I understand that in my previous post I said I had blocked her, but it's a complicated situation with her being postpartum. The reason why I have unblocked and have reached out is so now I can report to the family member that yes, I have asked to come see them, and no, I'm not getting a response. They apologized immediately and said they were not told the full story. My friend told the family member that she was feeling isolated and alone, that she has not had anyone at her house. Essentially, my purpose with this is to show proof of doing everything in my power to not be the person I'm made out to be. I hope at least in this aspect, they can start to put the pieces together and see that she's being controlled. Still have not received a response, BTW. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Glad you have stood up for yourself and set record straight. Pregnancy brain is real, so I could see her getting the message and forgetting to respond, but that doesn't excuse her icing you out completely and lying about it like she has." Another commenter said, "Thanks. Yes, pregnancy brain is real, but doesn't excuse lying. I don't think it's entirely coming from her. She's isolated because she allowed herself to become that way due to her BD." The comments are siding with her here, agreeing that having the receipts to back yourself up is exactly the right move. But what's your verdict on this one? So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. A guy orders pizza at a wedding after the bride's family inhales the entire buffet. And what happens next is absolutely unforgettable. Me and my wife were invited to my friend's wedding. The wedding was going to have about 70 PPL, with mostly family. When we got there, we were seated at a table with some other people. Nice people, and we mingled well and had a good time chatting. The wedding was also quite nice. Both my friend and his new wife were very happy. After the ceremony, every table got 2 bottles of wine, bread/butter, and there also was an open bar, so we started to have a few drinks. Then the food came out. It looked really good. The food was set up for buffet. I was half buzzed and looking forward to getting some food in my belly. When it was time to eat, every few tables at a time were going to get called, which is fine. The first few tables that were called were understandably the family of both sides. Then the rest were. The problem was that the family members, his in-laws, are larger people. Now, I don't shame people for how much they eat, but I noticed the helpings of food they had while I was patiently waiting for us to be called. I also noticed that they went for second before all the tables were called, and no one stopped them. I didn't say anything, though I thought that was rude. I just assumed that there was just a lot of food. To my surprise, by the time we were called, there was nothing left. I asked if there was more coming out, and apparently that already occurred. So we grabbed the little we could and went back to sit down and ate the scarps. We were all still pretty hungry and a bit pissed off, so we kind of bash talked that the first few tables ate all the food. Someone mentioned that they could go for some pizza, and then I had the drunken idea of ordering some LOL. So that is what we did. We all pitched in and ordered 4 large pizzas and some chicken wings from a local pizza joint close to the venue, so it didn't take long to be delivered. I met the guy outside and brought the food to our table, and we started to eat. Some of the other tables noticed and asked where the pizza came from. Apparently, some of the other tables close to ours didn't get any food either, so we shared with them. This caused some commotion because other people were looking for and asking the wedding party if there was pizza available. I guess there were others that didn't get to eat either. We did share with anyone who asked us. My friend came to talk to me about why I ordered the food. His bride was not happy about it. It ruined the aesthetics. So I told him that we didn't get to eat and that the food ran out long before a table was called. And we were really hungry. He then asked why we didn't just step out and eat then come back, though annoyed about that. I respectively explained to him that we were all drinking on an empty stomach and that it probably wasn't the best idea to have drunk people walking around, looking for food. That I don't think he liked that, but went back to his bride, who was glaring at us. Like, what were we supposed to do, starve? This wasn't the end, though. As we were finishing eating, one of the in-laws came to our table and he asked where the pizza came from. This is where I may be the AH. There were 2 slices left. I knew he was eyeing them. I asked the other people at my table if they wanted one. Everyone declined. This guy then said he'd have one. I then took the 2 slices, I put them on my plate, and started to eat them. Then looked at him and said something like, "No, you and every one of your tables had way more than your fair share of the buffet," and ate all of it. This is the reason we ordered food in the first place. And now you have the nerve to ask us to share. His face went red, and he returned to his table. There was a lot of discussion going on there. They were all looking back at us with daggers. The bride looked even more ticked off at us. She had a bit of an argument with my friend. He eventually came back to tell us we had to leave. I didn't mean to start any problems, so me and my wife called a cab and left. He called me a few days later, and we had a long talk. I explained my perspective, and he agreed that his in-laws were really rude for eating all the food and leaving most of the other guests with very little. A lot of people actually complained to him about it. Everyone was drinking thinking that there would be food, and they were disappointed. He was upset with his in-laws because he told them how many guests there would be and to order the food for that many people. He also saw how much they were taking, but assumed they ordered enough. He was wrong. He brought this up with his wife, and she said that apparently because the in-laws paid for the alcohol and the food, they felt entitled to eat what they wanted. She was really mad at them and reamed them out for tainting her special day. He also said a lot of the other non-family guests started to leave soon after we left because they too were hungry. They still had fun celebrating, but it did kind of put a downer on their special day. Out of 70 ppl, about 30 left. I also found out that guy that came to our table was his father-in-law. Father-in-law was really embarrassed by what I said to him. He felt pretty bad when he found out close to half the guests didn't get to eat anything and left early. So am I the asshole? Edit. My goodness, I didn't think I was going to get this kind of response, lol. So many comments. I went through a good chunk of the messages and thought that it would be easier to address the common ones here. The only reason I ordered the pizzas was because I was drinking. All I ate that day was a sandwich for lunch and some bread that was at the table. So I needed something more substantial in my stomach so I wouldn't get sick. So no, I couldn't wait it out a few hours. I wasn't the only person drinking either because the open bar was booming. However, I guess I could have held back on drinking a bit until the food came out. Those saying that I fat shamed the father-in-law. I'm going to have to disagree. I didn't say anything to him about his body. I was only honest with him about why I had to order the food. I don't judge people based on looks and accept everyone for who they are, as they are. You can't judge a book by its cover, so I judge people based on their actions. If you knew me, you would see that my friends group ranges from basic people to freaks and weirdos, lol. In fact, a good friend of mine, nicknamed Crusher, is a big dude, absolutely hilarious, and super fun to hang out with. This is not an AI-generated post, lol. My intelligence may be limited, but there is nothing artificial about it. The buffet was at my friend's request. He loves buffets, and this was his added touch to the wedding. He also chose the dishes. I know that it is not common for weddings to do buffets, but that's what he wanted. Thanks everyone for your comments. I will continue to read them and update this thread accordingly. Hey guys, I already have an update. First, I never stated when the wedding happened. The wedding was last week on July 20th. My friend just stopped by for a little bit. Apparently his wife was more upset than he initially said, but not at me, towards her family. He also said she wanted apologies for booting me. So father-in-law feels really bad, and he's going to step up and try to fix the situation. He's going to throw an after-wedding shing-ding, lol his words. Everyone who was at the wedding will be invited, including me, my wife, and some additional people. They are thinking there will be about 100 guests. Father-in-law also promised that there will be an assortment of food, more than enough for everyone plus an army, lol. He also wanted to personally let me know that there will be 50 large pizzas from the same joint I ordered from. That is his way of adding some humor to the situation. I think it's pretty funny, lol. He's also going to hire a DJ or a live band, possibly have some fireworks, and arrange other events like axe throwing and a bonfire. This actually sounds like a real fun time. The only difference is that this will be a BYOB event, which is no big deal. Father-in-law is pulling in a favor from a friend of his who owns a farm. The farm has 2 guest houses and the main house, as well as plenty of space outside. About 50 people can be squeezed in between the three houses, so he's going to encourage people to bring RVs, I have one, campers, and tents if they can. Nothing is officially yet, but they're looking to hold the shindig around mid-August. Sounds like this is going to be a blast. I'll update you all when I can. I am super sorry for not updating sooner. I meant to sooner, but I'm going to be a dad. So here's the update. After the wedding fiasco, we got the invites from my friend's father-in-law to the after-wedding shindig. It took a while, so I honestly thought it was a joke at first, but my friend, the groom, who dropped them off said it's happening, just took a while to organize it. The invites mentioned food, drinks, activities, and a lot of pizza. I wasn't sure what to expect, but my wife and I decided to go. It was in mid-September, and the weather was absolutely perfect with clear skies, warm sun, and a bit breezy. When we arrived, we saw the setup and was blown away. The event was on this massive farm owned by the friend of the father-in-law. There were RVs, campers, and tents scattered everywhere. It looked like some kind of mini music festival. The main house and 2 guest houses were open for people who didn't want to camp, and the yard was filled with picnic tables, lawn games, and a huge bonfire pit. As soon as we parked, the father-in-law greeted us. He was wearing this ridiculously loud Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses, grinning like he'd won the lottery, LOL. He shook my hand and said, "I'm glad you're here. There's plenty of food this time." I couldn't help but laugh, LOL. The food setup was insane. There were long tables covered with barbecue, all kinds of sides, desserts, and front and center pyramid of pizza boxes, LOL. I'm not kidding. It had to be at least 50 large pizzas from the same place I ordered from at the wedding. Each box had a sticker that said Shindig Special on it. Everyone was already joking about it. People started showing up in droves. A lot of people brought their own coolers full of beer, since it was BYOB, and others even joined in the pizza theme. LOL, someone even wore a pizza print dress, another guy had a pizza-shaped hat, and there were pizza cookies on one of the dessert tables. It was hilarious. The vibe was lighthearted and fun, and honestly, it was way better atmosphere than at the wedding. There was so much going on, the axe throwing, cornhole, live music, and even some fireworks set up for later. The father-in-law was wandering around, handing out slices of pizza like it was his personal mission to make sure no one went hungry. My friend, the groom, found me and pulled me aside. He had a beer in one hand and slapped me on the back with the other. He thanked me and told me, if I hadn't ordered that pizza, we probably wouldn't be here right now. As the day went on, everyone seemed to be having a blast. The bride even gave a little speech. She thanked everyone for coming, then pointed at me and said, "And a special thanks to the guy who turned a wedding mishap into a shindig we'll never forget." People laughed and clapped, and I felt a bit embarrassed, but also kind of proud. The night ended with lots of fireworks and everyone gathering around the bonfire, roasting marshmallows and sausages. People were drinking, singing, and telling stories. It felt like a proper celebration, and I couldn't help but think this is how the wedding should have been. Father-in-law came up to me near the end of the night with a slice of pizza on a plate. He said he wasn't sure how to make up for the mess they made at the wedding, but thought this did the trick. I shook his and smiled, and said this party was a hit. All in all, the shindig turned out to be one of the most memorable events I've ever been to. Everyone left full, happy, and with plenty of stories to tell. It's funny how a simple thing like ordering pizza at the wedding turned into something this big. But hey, I guess that's just how life goes sometimes. That's the update, guys. Just wanted to thank everyone for their comments. I actually never thought this post would blow up like this. On another note, baby's due in May, so I'm pretty sure the night of the shindig, she was conceived. Wink, wink, LOL. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Can't believe the father-in-law asked for pizza, LOL." Another commenter said, "He has no pride or shame, clearly." The comments are loving this guy and saying the in-laws owe him a serious apology for clearing out that buffet. Sounds open and shut to me, but what do you think? What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments. And that's a wrap on today's batch. 4 wild stories, for chances for you to be the judge. So which one got you the most fired up? And who do you think was actually in the wrong? Drop your verdicts down in the comments. I read every single one, and I love seeing where you all land. I've got a fresh pile of even crazier stories lined up for next time, so I'll see you in the next one.